Hi, my name is Sam Sussman. I'm with Pharicode. I apologize for the delay. I've been putting this video off for quite some time. I interviewed Boris Kun recently and talked with him about the DoD Skillbridge Program and some of the questions that you on my LinkedIn page have actually had questions about. These questions, I vetted them a little bit and just made them more grammatically correct. And that's the only real difference between the questions that were typed on my profile to messages that came in through LinkedIn messaging. To talk about the DoD Skillbridge, I first want to start off with what the program is. The program is a internship opportunity for active duty military during their last 180 days of active duty service in order to participate in a learning opportunity that could potentially lead towards employment with your small business. It's cost-free, meaning you can register through the DoDskillbridge.com website and get your company signed up to participate. The costs associated are just going to be your training costs. That can either be internal or formalized training where they get certifications, and there must be an opportunity for employment following the internship. DoD Skillbridge is wanting to move towards an 80% post-employment opportunity metric, which is going to be interesting to see how it's implemented. Without further ado, I'm going to switch this over to the interview with Boris Kun. Unfortunately, due to DoD restrictions, we just did a phone interview, so there will be a graphic on the screen instead of the actual faces of myself and Boris Kun. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below this video. I'll be looking at the comments and responding as needed. If you need any help, reach out to myself as well on LinkedIn. My name is Samuel Sussman. I work at Pharicode, and I'm more than happy to help out if you guys need help. Thank you. All righty, Boris. So first things I want to kind of start with questions is going to be around what is Skillbridge?
Skillbridge, in a nutshell, is an employment training opportunity for separating service members to allow them the opportunity to enhance right skill up to opportunities in the civilian sector, hopefully with a high probability at no cost to low cost to them, with training providers that have established partnerships with employers, and sometimes it's employers themselves providing those opportunities, and those could be in the shape of pre-apprenticeships, apprenticeships, internships, and hopefully those programs include mentorship opportunities as well while they're there, cultural stimulation, all that good stuff that would otherwise assist not only a transitioning service member, but really anybody that an organization will want to onboard to make sure that they have a successful onboarding process and have a successful candidate to be a viable team member in the long run.
And what motivated you to work with the Skillbridge program?
Well, first of all, I'm a transition veteran myself, but for the last few years, I had the wonderful opportunity of working somewhat in this space from running the credentialing and voluntary education programs with the transition assistance program, and I felt that this was a wonderful opportunity and program that number one, Congress gave us the authority for DoD to allow our service members to participate in. So not just we have the benefits packages that afford our members to get professional and personal development opportunities while they serve their country, but also upon their near end of separating from service, they have the opportunity to, while still getting full pay and benefits from the DoD and the services, to have a time to, if you will, try out an opportunity and get that assimilation started. So that transition is, the stress of transition, if you will, is reduced. I personally believe it's an amazing, wonderful platform, and hopefully it continues to be a thriving program for not only our service members, but with our partners, but also for the communities that are participating as well.
So that kind of leads me to the next question of when should service members actually start looking for these opportunities, and when are they actually able to start the conversations with their chains of command about participating in a DoD Skillbridge program?
That's a great question. Hopefully they're not trying to get into the program 2 weeks before they looking to go on terminal leave. That's the wrong time to do anything. So transition assistance TAP is offered now up to 18 months out, and hopefully at least a year out. So we always say be career ready. So the best thing you can do is never too early to start. So we say, the leadership and us, we believe that if you've served your country 4 years or 30 years, we owe you the opportunity to thrive, in career 2.0 or otherwise. But the best time to start looking, or at least thinking about or considering anything you're going to, do, is that way you have enough time to look at all your options and considerations, at least, a year out, but 6 months out. So Skillbridge is an opportunity you can do up to 180 days. Most programs are 8 weeks to 26 weeks, but mostly about 22 weeks at most. So even if you identify a program 6 months out, you still have plenty of time to review and look at some of the options available. And if there's not an option there that's available, an individual can seek out and identify other partners. We're always expanding daily and identifying new partnerships for the Skillbridge program. So we haven't yet, found that ceiling. The command engagement should also start just as early, because sometimes we're always finding the command triad, if you will. The leadership is not aware. So Skillbridge is a fairly new program, an authority that was given to the DoD back in 2014. So from a government standpoint, it's fairly new. There hasn't been a lot of advertisement, so we look from a grassroots level and the successes. So those individuals who've transitioned and view Skillbridge, please reach back and talk about your successes and horrors, so we can have the lessons learned. We take those, and those help, develop and contribute to our policy making, but also our rigor to make sure we have quality and compliance from our partners as well. So I would say, no minimums, and at least 6 months out, should a service member, be having that conversation with their command and for themselves, just to make sure they have enough time to get all the paperwork ready and notification.
And I'm sure some of these service members are kind of going to be listening to this and wondering, all right, what paperwork do we actually need to do? So what's the underlying instruction that they need to reference for their request sheets to go up their chains of commands? And where can they get more information on Skillbridge?
So the easiest thing to do is don't worry about the instruction, because we're writing it. But there's a DoDI out for it, and most of the services have their own variants to the DoDI 1322.29, and it doesn't even reference the word Skillbridge. So that's why I would say not to have a concern for it. If you want the most up-to-date information about the Skillbridge program, just visit DoD Skillbridge at skillbridge.usawarning.gov, or you can just Google Skillbridge and it'll come up. And we have all the details for across the services, depending on which service you are affiliated with. If the vendor is not listed there, they simply fill out, they just do a contact us, and it goes to our contact management system. Or if you have an additional question as a service member yourself, you simply fill it out and it goes to the applicable service, and we will help you out. So we've tried to streamline it and make it as easy for you as while you're serving the country to get information, or you can go to your local Clean Family Service or Education Center to get more information about the Skillbridge program as well. So again, just basically Google or Bing, Skillbridge or DoD Skillbridge, and you'll get the website. And we have information from both the member side to the industry partner side, and even the command if they want to have information. We have tabs for that as well, and then FAQs and resources.
Absolutely. And then for those of you listening, I'll be sure to include a link to the DoD Skillbridge website, so that way you guys can click right in from this video. Another question that came from my LinkedIn network was about the overseas aspect. So what about service members who are separating or retiring overseas? And how is this program able to shift into a worldwide opportunity instead of just for those service members stationed within the U.S.?
That's a great question that keeps on coming up. So we're continuously working on that. There's obviously the SOFA agreements of having Skillbridge came out, and various SOFA agreements are in place that don't allow us to obviously have on-base presence, etc. And a lot of the partners that we have currently don't have, let's say, presence there, possibly. So there's issues with obviously expatriatism and all that, those kind of facets. So we're continuously working through that with our GC and our components overseas. We're also working with our partners to see which ones do have that global transnational presence that might be able to have that forward capability, working on pilots. So you might see some of those pop up here and there opportunity-wise. So for the latest and greatest, be on the lookout on the DoD Skillbridge site. So we are looking to do that expansion FY 2021 space. So if Pharicode wants to be one of those, great. So those would probably come more from an online-based approach or a hybrid, and or some of our DoD partners, if you will, that are contract-based. So always welcome. And if anybody has a great idea out there, we're listening. So give us a contact us or respond to the LinkedIn ad, and we're more than happy to look or explore. I don't have all the best ideas by myself or the team.
Absolutely. You brought up a LinkedIn ad, which leads me to the next question. Is there going to be some increased funding for kind of advertisement and published media to kind of get the Skillbridge name out into the commercial market?
So Skillbridge is an unfunded requirement or unappropriated, but we leverage our vast network of partners with Department of Labor and Veterans Affairs, but also our industry partners. Surprisingly, I don't know if we do have a problem or issue from an industry perspective. We get about 55 inquiries from industry partners a day, so from an inquiry standpoint. So we're pretty busy from that regard. But when we go out there, we do champion the program to promote it as well. We have companies like Disney and Northern Grumman. Obviously, those are easy ones to kind of leverage. Hiring Our Heroes has been a great partner as well, and LinkedIn as well. But if somebody has a question about a particular industry partner or anything like that, if you don't see them on the DoD site, please just email us or provide that information, and we'll try to reach out. Sometimes it's also the difference between, do those industry partners want to be Skillbridge partners as well? Just as I mentioned before, they're not aware of the program simply of what's entailed, how much responsibility there is, what is the liability factors. And Department of Labor did provide wonderful opportunities with regard to liability factors from that they are not the responsibility of the provider. The service member is still a service member of the Department of Defense because we are providing the pay and benefits. So that relieves a lot of liability questions there from our partners in the program. So they're employment trainees. That's a huge part, and hopefully this part of this conversation, it goes out there. So they're Skillbridge participants and the industry partners and our industry partner. And so they're Skillbridge partners in that sense. So that alleviates a lot of those confusing, messy legal and HR problems that we used to have to deal with and have concerns about. So we're seeing the influx of industry partners coming in. But if anybody has any particular questions or doesn't see an industry partner yet, please let us know.
With 55 coming in a day, that's got to be a really stressful situation. So that kind of leads me to something complete opposite of what's your favorite part about working with Skillbridge?
Well, actually, I love Skillbridge. I love my whole portfolio of credentialing because it's really outcomes-based. Because at the end of the day, we have so many programs in the DoD that are beneficial to the service members, where with Skillbridge particularly, there's a significant impact to our service members, and it doesn't matter what your background is, it directly correlates to employment, and it reduces so much stress that occurs during that time frame, those last 12 months and those first 4 to 6 months post-separation. I remember how stressful those were for me, and I'm sure many of those individuals who are going to be listening to this podcast and likewise remember going through that, and those individuals who are thinking of separating understand that. And then I believe Skillbridge, there's one huge benefit of Skillbridge is it helps alleviate that tremendous stress factor, and it is pretty satisfying knowing that we're, as a team, able to contribute to that.
Absolutely. And it sounds like this is more of alleviating the stress, not only for the service member, but also for these business partners that you guys have, because it seems like these business partners are getting a lot of benefits for being able to pull an active duty service member to come in, learn the process, and be molded into what that business wants. So what are some of the other benefits for Skillbridge business partners?
You made several great points there. Obviously, they get exposure to some of the best workforce out there. Some other great factors are obviously a drug-free individual. We hear that a lot from our partners that ask those kind of questions. They have an opportunity for individuals who know time management, know ethics and morals, individuals that, if given a task or responsibilities from a very, doesn't matter what demographic, doesn't matter what the age group is or ethnicity, they already have those, if you will, they already know how to deal with all those factors. Multicultural exposure, all these things that organizations are looking for, and if you will, from their end, are risk factors, and service members help bring that to their organizations. And those are reduced risk factors for them, if you will. Those are participating or thriving from that. We believe, we see that because, you know, we've had organizations that say, oh, we just want to try it out with 1 or 5 candidates, and they then want to keep coming back as this being one of their primary feeders for potential candidates for across their enterprise.
And you brought up that a lot of the companies are starting to use this for more candidate-based. Are they charged a fee to participate, or is there any fees from the DoD Skillbridge program that they need to pay, or is this 100% free for all these business partners to participate?
It's 100% free. So it's free to the partners to participate. All we ask is they report back basically participation rates from the service members that they successfully completed the program, and then obviously the interview, it went well, not well, etc., and then the employment outcome. So those are really the measures or impact factors for our partners from that regard. So 100% free, and just a few requirements from our end to make sure that we have a healthy relationship and our service members are getting the requisite needs that, you know, we would expect from dedicated time from our end and from their end of working with Skillbridge Partner. So, you know, there's obviously no time that was wasted for them, or they had a wonderful experience from their end as well.
And you talked about the employers reaching back to give you some information about how the whole internship went. So that leads me kind of to what I'm going to assume is more of a voluntary base. How many of these internships have transitioned into actual jobs?
What we've started to do since about June, we've OSD, Office of Secretary of Defense, on where we're at, we've started to do enterprise MOUs, so things that older programs were grandfathered in. So yes, they're voluntary based, but one of the criteria in ours is the metrics. So we're starting to enforce that. So where we might have had programs that were in the past might have been training based with high success or high probability of employment, but partners were not reporting those metrics, they might have somehow gone through and stayed on. So that is changing. That has been changing. So we have that enforcement because Congress wants those kind of questions, because at the end of the day, the return on investment is important. So, DoD at the end of the day is paying pay and benefit. It's a fair ask of, at the end of the day, what was the outcome for the service member and the outcome for the partner. If the partner is investing so much time in the opportunity, it's only fair for them as well that there's some return on investment from either a successful interview that might have, the service member separated might have not accepted that position because they wanted to do something else. But at least there was some kind of action that was taken in that regard. So, or those skills were taken and the individual wanted to take them to a different location. So we understand there's various factors that occur. We just want to make sure that due diligence, due process, if you will, is followed through at the end.
So with that metric being hiring on at the end, which sounds like it's going to be coming in the new instruction, will it be post-hire employment or will it be hired on with the employer?
So we work with both employers and training providers, but for instance, a training provider, we would look to see, so one of the pieces that we would look for is, do they have a network of employer partners? So for a great example is, like, let's say community college, correct? they might have a workforce center that assists the individuals graduating with employment, or so they have X identified 15 organizations that these individuals go through our, let's say, IT program, coding program. These 5 or 6 employers hire out of it. And when we see that, because we understand that no one vendor, if you will, or one employer can feed the machine of, let's say, all the, 500,000 open positions in IT. So we understand that. But at minimum, what we want to see is that there was at least at minimum an effort for an interview for a position. And then what was the reason for no employment effect, correct? So that no employment effect, if we're going to see a consistency of, we interviewed, but they were not the right candidate, well, then there might be a problem with that. So we can do the statistical analysis on that, X, Y, Z. We just don't want it to be somebody or some entity just running through numerous bodies, because that's ineffective for them as well. If that makes any sense in that regard, or if you want to amplify that more.
It makes perfect sense to me. One of the other questions that came from LinkedIn was how many transitioning service members are approved by service, location, rank, and they also want you to go down all the way to the MOS, CMS, or rating, which I'm going to be a little bit more lenient and kind of revise this question so it's a little bit easier for you to answer. How many transitioning service members have participated in this program so far?
This past year in FY19, we had over 8,600 service members participate. So thus far, we've had over 20,000 service members participate. And that might look like a small number, but if we take a look at the gross amount of individuals that actually annotate that they want to go for employment. So majority of individuals that separate indicate they want to go down the education track, and employment is only secondary consideration. What we are starting to see is people who consider education, they realize, well, wait a second, I'm not going to make enough money when I'm going to be going to education. I'm going to need employment. And that, again, I ask our whole community of separated service members or transition service members, if you have gone to school or going to school, or even if you did do the education track, what is your feedback? Do you need employment? So those are, I think, important factors, and that our transitioning service members need that peer-to-peer mentorship or evaluation that they're not able to get. So we could see better participation, maybe, or more participation in the program. But we're currently from the program usage, we're about 30% of those who want to be employed post-service are utilizing, this year, for instance, utilize Skillbridge. That's a pretty good number and growing. I'll say from that standpoint, with the program authority only being around for 4 or 5 years, and the other service, and since you asked about the services, the other services have only turned on their authorities in the last 2 to 3 years. So that's a pretty significant impact, and we're probably going to see only growth in the next few years from that standpoint. So my ask is obviously communicating back to the community about either your successes or your failures, or just what was good or bad, so we know, and also those that are going to be going through the process have that situational awareness.
What are some reasons why they wouldn't be approved for a DoD Skillbridge program, and at what level usually determines that?
For the service members who are requesting to get approved for a Skillbridge opportunity, that resides at the command level for the most part. In the Army, sometimes that also goes to the education center. But for the most part, that resides at the command level. So obviously, those who have served know all the various reasons why a command might not approve. For the most part, we have not seen disapprovals as much. Most commanding officers and the senior enlisted have seen, they understand why this is a good thing. But the reasons for that might be obviously mission requirements, right? If you're got a training exercise and manpower needs X, Y, Z, or you're still in the middle of deployment and how they're going to get you out. So all those numerous things could occur. But for the most part, people who are separating or transitioning or retiring, they are. We haven't seen any nasty grams from service members members or from commands that are not willing to approve the program. Most of the time, it's, as we all know, it might be a mission requirement.
So one of the questions that you kind of brought up that I didn't put in the question list prior is there going to be the manpower question of these members are still attached to their commands? With the new instruction, is that going to change to where they get detached to TPU before participation, so that way they can get a new service member, or is that not on course?
No, that's a great question. It's every service has its own policies with that regard. We don't have that in the instruction, so we're not going to be doing that because, again, when those kind of functions occur, that means we're increasing manpower costs to the service, and Congress has not, at least thus far, we can say, hasn't indicated that approach to be an authorization. TPU is, it increases our IA accounts, if you will. So that obviously then in turn increases our manpower requirements that we have to request funding from Congress. So we don't foresee that authorization happening. So for the most part, we're managing that situation. The best way we categorize everything that happens there is that service member who's transitioning those last, 2, 3, 4 months, they're already doing everything they need to do to transition. So are they contributing to the mission? For the most part, they're going through the cycles, going to those classes, doing all those things that they need to do. So it's already a non-unit impactful individual. So we don't see the need for, from our standpoint at least, we don't see that as a requirement, nor we see that our budgetary controls being shifted.
Absolutely. And then there was one that was another one from LinkedIn, which I'm going to kind of rephrase this to what I think they're trying to ask instead of the way they worded it. So is there going to be any consideration to allow for all service members, including National Guard and reserves, who were either on deployment for an extended period of time or something along those lines, to allow them to participate in kind of a transitional program after a period of time or certain actions they have to participate in order to participate in this program?
First off, I just want to start off with saying that reservists and guard and spouses are allowed to communicate with the approved providers on a space available, and or if the providers have any interest to have these individuals be candidates, they can outside of Skillbridge, if you will, if they want to work out different, or obviously they wouldn't be funded with paying benefits from DoD. But they obviously see the value of having a guard or a reservist, and then it doesn't have to be within the 180-day window. I want to put that out there because I think having a list of partners who are Skillbridge partners is an easier way to also identify those military-friendly employers. Correct?
Correct.
That's number that's number one. Number two, that is definitely on the table, and from both a policy perspective and from the Hill. I'll leave it there. So go call it, go call or support, and go and put it somewhere outside of our swim lane as well.
Absolutely. And then in case anybody watching this would like to ask you some more questions, is there a way for them to contact you or contact the DoD Skillbridge Program?
Sure. Again, if you go to DoD Skillbridge, if you have additional questions, we try to put out as much relevant information about the program onto the site and into the FAQs and resources as well. And we even have Skillbridge locations, and for any partners that are prospective partners that want to be, we even have separations data there and all that kind of fun stuff from a state by state and locality and installations level. But if there is information there that did not meet your needs, again, the contact us is right there, and we will respond to you accordingly.
Thank you so much for meeting with me today, and I do want to give you a huge shout out because the new website is so much better from when I was in and when I was doing the transition process that you guys blew it out of the water with your renovations to that website.
Well, thanks, Sam. We try to have user input, UX input, and all that fun stuff. So greatly appreciate it. Again, everybody's feedback is welcome, and that's how we get better. So thank you for your time, and thanks for the opportunity.